So, in today's video, we will go visit Japan through the no masks. Now, I apologize in advance if I don't pronounce certain words properly. I don't speak Japanese and I'm not trying to learn Japanese. So, please forgive me if my pronunciation will be off on some of these words. And as usual, the information you see on screen is what I obtained from the Montreal Museum Fine Arts directly. It was the description, the official description of the item that you see on screen now, and you can assume the same thing for the two other items that I'll be talking about. I will also intersperse a clip from a particular video. That I found on the internet. I will include a link to the original video in my description. So, for those of you who want to see the full video, you'll be able to do so as well. Obviously, as usual, we'll at the end of the video be talking about my personal opinion, my thoughts, but also give you guys some research and um, basic elements that I found about these masks and the theater production, etc., etc. So right now on screen, what you see is a no mask of Chujo Otokoto, which was made in Japan during the Edo period, which stemmed from 1615 to 1868. Obviously, the 19th century. It was made out of carved wood and lacquer. It is a gift of Mr. and Mrs. Gerald W. Burks. The inventory number is 1949.50.EE.5. The No Mask is a drama piece with dance and music. It originated from popular form of religious entertainment called sarugatu, a monkey music, in the 11th century, which flourished under the patronage of the Ashikaga shogunate in 1338 to 1568 and was adapted as an official form of court entertainment during the Edo period. While No was a high art form destined for the aristocracy, Kabuki was a popular art form meant for the townspeople. Scenes and characters from No plays were never depicted in woodblock prints or ukiyo-e, which were geared towards the lower classes. This mask of Shijo Otoko portrays Ariwa no Nariira, also known as Zego Jojo, from 825 to 880, a poet of the early Heian period known for his good looks and erudition. So here we have another no mask of Kashihiki from Japan during the Meiji period of 1868 to 1912. It is made of carved wood and lacquer. It is also a gift of Mr. and Mrs. Gerald W. Burks. The inventory number of this particular item is 1949.50.EE.6. Kashik is a name given to a young boy who looks after meals at Zen temples. Part commoner and part Buddhist monk, he often excels in performing arts. The Kashiki mask is characterized with bands that are cut in the shape of ginkgo leaves or extend straight across the forehead. The youthful face is delicately tinted and often reveals dimples. Its expression varies from headstrong to cute and lovable, bringing a range of emotions to the performance. In this final piece that we'll be seeing here today, we see another no mask, this one made by OBC Shimi from Japan during the Edo period 1615 to 1868. It is probably made somewhere in the 18th and 19th century of carved wood and lacquer. It is also a gift of Mr. and Mrs. Gerald W. Burks. The inventory number for this one is 1949.50.EE.3. Movements in a no plays are slow and dance like, gradually building to a climax. The plot involves a meeting between a shite or troubled spirit and a wacky or bystander. The shite relieves the suffering of former lives and attempts to search for a peaceful state. The leading actors wear painted masks which appear to change expression with each movement. The masks themselves are more central than any other performing art and are treated as having a spirit of their own. Otobaida, the name of the type of mask, the name of the name derives of the verb tobideru, to protrude. With its large Belgian eyes and wide opening mouth, it evokes a shrewd spirit. According to Zia Mi Motokiyo, 15th century lectures on Shakugaku or Shakugaku Danji, it portrays the vengeful ghost of Lord Sugarawa no Michiwuzan, a 9th century Heian politician and scholar. Otobaide exaggerates the appearances befits the treacherous spirit. The Obishimi mask portrays a type of demon, the Tengu, an imaginary creature, part bird, part human, this with supernatural power. With its mouth clenched and eyes bulging out, it represents the arrogance and threatening power of Tengu, who often acts against the moral code of Buddhism. The videos you've been seeing interlaced within this video were a performance done by the No Society, and it was a performance of the Tome by Mikata Shizuka. The full and unedited video is available in the description, so just click the link if you want to watch the full version. It was performed in September of 2021 at the Yare no Theater and was done by the Kamzi School. The objective of a no play is to present the everyday common person in their life through mask, costume, and dance based performances. Often featuring the supernatural, these plays integrate traditional literature to talk about Japanese people of the 12th to 16th centuries. No was originally introduced to Japan from China in the 8th century and has had many transformations since then. No matter the tradition or timeline, however, the actors involved have always been highly trained and specialized in a particular style. In the 14th centuries, whole families were dedicated to this style of performance. In one case, 53 generations of a family were part of the No traditional theater. However, some contest that, in fact, outcasts made up the theater troupes that were that did the No performances. In any event, it is with Kan Ami Kiyozogo and his son Zeami Motokiyo that the No theater we know today was created. Although many elements have changed, this father and son established the key elements of what is considered a no play today. They established the Kanze school, but also there was the Hosho school, which was established by Kan Ami's eldest brother, and two other schools of no play were also created, the Konpati school and the Kongo school. In the modern day no play, there are four major roles: the Shite, which is the protagonist of the play. They are often accompanied by the Shite Shore, or the protagonist's companion, the Koken, two or three stagehands, and the Jute, the chorus of 6 to 8 people. Then there is the Waki, who is the foil to the protagonist, the Kyogen, which are the interludes during which more actors tend to present a separate play. Then finally, the Hayashi, which are the instrumentalists who play one of four instruments: the transverse flute, or noken, the hip drum, or okawa, the shoulder drum, or kotsuzumi, and the stick drum, or taiko. When a chorus is involved in a no play, at least one protagonist and one villain is involved. As for the mask, stage, and gestures used in a no play, everything is highly codified, and in fact, the whole point of the mask, for example, in these plays is to make facial expression uh, used to be codified and uniform, allowing the audience to know what it is meant without having to explain further than the expression that's seen on the mask. Even though it seems that the masks only show one specific expression, in fact, the expressions are flexible enough to have a multiple meaning depending on the angle and lighting, for example. No plays are still performed today. However, with the influence of Western media, they are becoming less and less popular. So be sure to support this unique performance art by attending a no play if and when possible. Now, as usual, I got most of all this information from the page about no performances. So if you need to learn more, please click in the description. I will link the Wikipedia page there for further reading on your end. I always find Japanese culture very fascinating and interesting. Obviously, this country is very rich in history. Now, obviously, some of you will know that in World War II, Japan was not part of the Allies, right? In fact, Japan was allied with Germany. So, for many people, particularly the Chinese, Japan isn't very well respected as a country. Now, obviously, I don't want to come out here and sound like I'm anti Japanese. Uh, Japanese people, especially nowadays, are very highly respected, and I personally hold nothing against the Japanese people themselves. Today, I know Canada obviously is has his its own history that's very questionable. Many Native Americans don't like the Canadian government, so I'm certainly not coming out here trying to wag my finger at the Japanese. Canada isn't perfect by no means either. So I do want to have a certain amount of transparency as well. Japan does have moments in history where the leadership could have done better, could have done things differently. And the same thing with Canada, same thing with many other countries as well. So I do want to acknowledge that. I certainly don't want to come out here and try to be insensitive to some of the wrongdoings that the government has done. Um, and I certainly don't want to make it sound like it's nothing to mention. It's just a little blip in time. Japan does have its shades of grays, its blacks, its whites, like a lot of countries, and like I said, Canada included. Canada is certainly not a perfect country, and I'm sure many historians can go through the annals of Canadian history and find things that I, as a Canadian, would not be proud of as well. But nonetheless, this does not take away from the no theaters plays that they have and the beauty that it has to offer in today's world. Um, I obviously touched upon some of the general points of the no plays that we can see in the video that's playing in the background now. I obviously intentionally muted it. but it's a clip that I've shown bits and pieces of throughout this video. And like I said before, there will be a link to the full video of it that's available for free on YouTube. So, by all means, if you guys want to watch this particular play in full, it is available on YouTube. And by all means, like I said earlier, please do go support this unique and spectacular performance art by going to see a no play if and when you can. I get that maybe it might not be something that you can go see in your city or country. You may need to travel to Japan itself to go and see one of these plays. But if you can, please by all means do so. It's certainly a beautiful tradition. And in Canada, in Montreal in specific, we at the Montreal Museum of Fine Arts have the World Pavilion, which is basically a revamped section of the main pavilion of the Montreal Museum of Fine Arts. A few years ago, the Montreal Museum of Fine Arts opened the World Peace Pavilion, which is a new addition to the museum. And what was the European section in the main entrance was moved to that new pavilion, and now what was the main pavilion, well, it still technically is the main pavilion, but what was the European section has now become the world arts section. So that's where you're going to find the Japanese section right next to the Chinese exhibit as well. So they did revamp a lot of what was in separate sections into the world section. I was there for not for the opening itself, but for one of the first few days that the new world section was available, and it definitely was very interesting. It's a very beautiful part of the Montreal Museum of Fine Arts. It doesn't get as much attention as it should, um, but I know that the museum has put in a lot of effort to revamp itself. In fact, there is a section of the museum, one particular pavilion, that has been closed. I've noticed for the past, I think, 3 weeks, maybe up to 6 weeks. I think they're revamping this section as well, which is a good thing. The what was the European section, now the World Arts section, needed to be redone. Although I miss how it was before, I'm glad that I saw the before and after. But it did need to be changed, and so does this other section. In fact, part of what was in that section is now the world art section. They had a section devoted to Islamic art and to Asian art that, of course, was removed and went to the world art section. That was on the second floor of this old section. And in the same general pavilion, they also had the Colombian art and African art, but also the ancient Greece and ancient Roman art. So that also was moved into the world section. So a lot has changed. So uh, they kind of had no choice but to revamp and redo things in this pavilion, because a lot of what was there has now been moved to the world pavilion. So hopefully it'll be opened soon, but we'll see. It's a pavilion that's been around, I believe, since the 80s. So it definitely is something that hasn't been touched in 30, 40 years, which may not seem like a long time, but in the art world, that's quite a bit of time. That's basically my entire life. Uh, to put myself in a bit of an age group, but hopefully it'll be open soon. And I know I'm talking a little about anything and everything, but that all to say that um, the Japanese section definitely needed, or the Asian section definitely needed to be redone. And although the emphasis isn't there to uniquely say this is the Japanese section or this is the African section. They make the transition between one section to the other a little bit more seamless and a little less like segregated, like it's really part of a world view, right? And kind of reminding that it's not just about Canada, it's not just about Europe. Although sometimes, like I said, I do miss the fact that we are making a point that yes, there is this is like the Japanese art, this is Chinese art, this is, Cambodian or Congolese or whatever the case might be. Sometimes I do feel like they do need to really specify that and really make it very obvious. But it's nice that to just walk through and just sort of feel like you're transitioning and visiting the world without necessarily, oh, this must be Japanese and only Japanese, and if you're not part of that world, you can't be here. It kind of feels like you're welcomed into this section no matter what. So I really enjoyed learning about the No Theater. This is not something that I'm very familiar with. This is definitely out of my comfort zone. I know I didn't go in depth, which is why, like I said earlier, I do recommend that you visit the Wikipedia page, which does have external links that you can go and learn and really edify yourself on this wonderful topic and learn more. So there's definitely a lot more to learn about Japanese culture and theater. And it's definitely very unique and different from what you would see elsewhere. So if, like I said, you do have the opportunity to see this kind of play for yourself in person, don't pass that by and really take the time. If you have to spend a few dollars, don't be shy and do so. The performances you've been seeing interspersed in the video have been by the No Society. It is their performance of Tome by Mikata Shizuka, and the full unedited video is in the description. It was a perform